Hello, you guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So, today is day 4, in a little bit of the trial against Leilani. And last night I wasn't able to come on and talk about day 3. Plus, Melissa was on and she had a slightly different schedule than usual. So, I thought it would be best to talk about it this morning. That's what we're going to do. So, Bendy's going to be here in a few minutes. This live is going to redirect into her live with the trial. And yeah, Danny's back on the stand. So, we have a lot to talk about, though, that took place yesterday. Danny took the stand finally, and we got to hear about many things that, were speculated about that caused a lot of rumors, but we truly didn't know the truth. How do I sound? Hey, Tess. Hey, Chopper. I think she cries for herself. Hey, Teresa, Pointer Lover, Alicia, Punksy, Ava, Dave G. Thank you guys for being here. Hey, Lily, Polly, Lucia, Hippie Chick, Mayla's mom, Queen Bella. Today, my Starling comes, so if the internet goes out today, or if I turn into a robot, then today is hopefully the last day you guys have to put up with that shit for me. I'm really hoping so. Hey, Tiffany. Hey, Lil Red. I just ran out and got some Red Bull. Even though now that it's cold, I'll drink like warm coffee again. I cannot drink hot coffee in the summer. Like in the mornings, I got to have cold drinks when it's hot. Hey, Libby Doe. Good morning, my beautiful chat fam. New name, who dis? What's your new name replacing? Okay, awesome, Ava. Leilani is a cold, stone, evil psycho. The way she has zero emotions when the awful photos of what's left of precious baby Quentin. I know. So, I have those photos. I saved them. I don't think I'm going to show them, though, but I do want to talk about that. There was a moment where they showed his little foot and she did this frown. Matter of fact, I have a screenshot of the face that she made when they noted that was his little foot. And then I'll get into some of my notes. I'm waiting on Jen. I don't know where she's at, but that's fine. We can go until she gets here. Okay, so this is how she was looking at the pictures on the screen of Quentin's remain. So, okay, let's start here. Yesterday, first of all, soon as court starts, they take up a matter regarding these messages with Craig /Red / the dealer that she was also having an affair with. Okay, the judge ultimately, I can't believe, keep the text out. She says their prejudicial value outweighs their probative value. So I don't see how that is, because the whole theory, I'd said this in the chat, but even after sleeping on it, now that I think about it, it still makes no sense. Their whole theory, revolves around Leilani's unstable emotions towards Danny, and because of her relationship with Danny. If we think back to that video suicide note that they played, it just seemed that, I don't know, I thought that it could have certainly been left in, but apparently they were very graphic, and the judge said unless they are redacted, she doesn't want them in. So, it is what it is. I respect the judge's decision, but I have questions about that. After that, language is too graphic. Her attorneys want the affair out. It goes to the prosecution, made the point. It goes to show how many different stories, how much she lies, which I agree. But ultimately, it was inadmissible. Then Detective Lemons takes the stand again. So she gets back on the stand, and she's actually not the one on the stand when we see the pictures of Quentin. They go through text with Danny, some of a Google search, which we're going to look at and talk about in a second. But then this, it's an FBI agent. She's a forensic anthropologist with the FBI. And I didn't take her name because I was out driving. She takes the stand and they go through images of his remains. And oh my gosh, this is Leilani looking at those images on the screen here. We see pieces of his skull and, some other bones and stuff. But then there's one where you see his little left foot. And when they do, there was a slight moment, this frown. She gives this little frown when they describe that it was his foot. That's about as emotional as she got with those pictures on the screen. Hey, Sister Kate. Little late, but here. Hey, Meg. Hey, you guys coming in. Hey, Sunday. Did you guys notice her little frown when they pointed that out? Now, Danny, on the other hand, he's completely emotional. He's very nervous. I think that he's trying to be very careful not to misspeak, but that's coming across a little. Some people are taking that. It doesn't sound very good. We found out that he's, in active addiction with alcoholism and drinking a lot at the time. One thing, though, at least we know that Danny, he was the one, in my opinion, he cared more about those kids than her. He was the one getting up and making sure that he got them ready, took them to the babysitter, those kinds of things. He was the one doing a lot of the very same chores we thought Leilani was doing that night before, in my opinion, to me. And I need to rewatch it again. But it appeared that, yeah, he was just taking over her job a lot of times. He's just so anxious. I do feel he's genuine. I agree. I mean, but can you blame him? He's not a professional. A lot of the people that will watch Take the Stand, they are going to be, oh my gosh. Did I even give the link to Bendy? I don't think so. Jen, I'll drop it in the chat if you're here. Hold on, because I don't have my phone next to me. Wait. I'm sorry, I just thought about that. Maybe that's why she's not here. I don't think I sent the link. Invite guest, copy. And I did grab, my phone wasn't that far. So, okay. I don't think it made him look bad. He just seems overwhelmed. Yeah. I don't think it made him look bad either. But I know that some people felt he seemed a little dishonest at times. To me, he seemed just like a little bit of a burnout. He was having trouble remembering stuff, knowing that he was in full active addiction, drinking every day hard liquor, even while driving, which he admitted on the stand. I could see why he doesn't remember. Hey, Grace. Good morning. Okay, I will. I'll check it out. Hey, P. Lola's mom. In my opinion, her face makes me mad. How are you not bawling when they talk about your baby? I would be ugly crying all day. Well, I want to play a couple things with Danny, but first, let me just jump to another photo. I'm just afraid of accidentally showing the remains, and I think I'm just not going to show them. That's not Quentin, right? We know that it's just his remains, but it's tough. So I think I've decided against that. I had debated about showing them. But yeah, I think that's where the decision. That's just what I'm going to do. Definitely traumatizing to him. He seems traumatized, Mayla's mom. Yet, Alicia, we don't know, yet we do know that they said, it was blunt force trauma early on, but hey, Wuffy, Deets. He is way more emotional than Leilani ever was, right? So last night when I was looking for clips and stuff, I was just looking on Twitter to get prepared for us to talk about it this morning. And someone had shared this picture of Quentin with the babysitter, and I just thought it was a sweet picture. So Danny takes the stand. Interesting. We didn't know this. I didn't anyways. met online. She actually moved up to North Carolina with him, and then they moved back down together. He does at one point say, Zane was very high energy, and I think we're going to see some of this in a moment, but Zane was very high energy. Quentin was, he described it. And the prosecutor asked him, "Do you remember them fondly?" And he gets teary-eyed and he can hardly speak. He does say, "Normally I would get them ready and drop them off myself and then come back and get her ready for, or get her up for work." The prosecutor was kind of confused about that at first when he's like, "No, I get them ready and I take them." And he's like, "Wait, don't you guys work the same shift?" "Yeah, but Leilani sleeps up until the last minute. She's a little child, okay, an immature child, in my opinion. And Danny's the one, making sure the kids make it to the babysitter and shit while she sleeps in." He did. Now, this was interesting. He actually did tell police that he saw Quentin, but he realized, after that he didn't. And I do believe him. Look, there's a video footage that there's video footage, which we've talked about and watched before this moment. Remember when Leilani all of a sudden comes out with this Oragel story? And the officer, her car registered on those cameras, so they knew that she had been out driving around. When the officer goes to ask her, "Wait, so you and the kids didn't go anywhere?" She must have felt that they knew, which is also what the prosecutor said. But in that moment, she says, "Oh, I did go to get Oragel at like 2. And he's like, 2 p.m.? She's like, "No, 2 in the morning." During that moment, you can see Danny's head kind of tilt to the side, and he's like, "Huh? Like, when did this come out?" Well, then, remember, Quentin goes missing October 5th. October 7th, he signs and agrees to having to the FBI getting them a hotel room, and he agrees to the room being bugged. He also agreed for his cell phone, for them to bug his cell phone. It appears that the warrant was only for his communications with Leilani, but Danny understood it to be anything that was in his phone that they could see. In my opinion, now, look, there have been a lot of rumors, even if we go back, to right when he first left. And Dietz mentioned this yesterday, and it is true. Even the family perpetuated this to a degree, that Danny just upped and disappeared, and they didn't want Leilani to take the fall for some man, and a lot of speculation. A lot of people thought that Danny may have been involved, or maybe he did this. Well, I'm sorry, but I think he proved with the fact that he agreed to his phone being tapped, but also the hotel room, that he absolutely had nothing to do with it. And I'm sorry, but that meant so much to me that he literally didn't care. And because every time he was asked, how'd you feel about that phone tapped? Like, he's like, "Oh, absolutely," without a question. There was not even a question in his mind about cooperating, about, trying to help them find Quentin. Oh, Bendy's here. Hello. Good morning, Jenn.
Good morning. I am so sorry. I thought it was 8:30.
Ooh,
I've just
for
been
some
sitting
reason, I
here.
cannot hear you.
You can't hear me. All right, hold on.
I can see your, I can see your bubble was moving, but I couldn't hear you. I think it's me. So just hold on one second. Jenn, you talk to them for a moment. I'm so curious your thoughts, but let me close this window and open a new one. I think it's me because I used a window that was open the other day, and sometimes it will do that. So let me I'll be right back, you guys.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am so sorry that I'm late. I thought that we were going live at 8:30, and I've just been sitting here writing. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yesterday, wow. Yesterday was a lot. Um, I don't know, because I just got here, obviously, and maybe Allie has already discussed this. But for me, I think
Hello?
probably, hey,
It worked.
yeah,
Okay, awesome. Go ahead, Cindy. What were you saying? Yeah, I
I
can't
was
wait to hear your.
okay. So for me, I wasn't ready for Danny. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't, I mean, I
Yeah,
knew that he would be a witness. I just didn't think he'd be a witness yesterday. But for
yeah,
me, I think probably the most difficult testimony came from the forensic anthropologist. To
yeah,
see that sweet, innocent child who everybody has described as happy and smiling and just a little chatterbox reduced to a bag of bones
yeah,
broke my heart. And I watched it this morning again because I had missed part of it. And I was just it went all over me. And then seeing that face,
mm-hmm,
and it's not it's the lack of face, the lack of
mm-hmm.
emotion, the lack of anything, no
That
reaction.
was
It's
the most we got
void.
right there.
Yes, it's void. It's there's nothing there. It just
Yeah,
it went all over me, Allie, and it just I mean, I was already annoyed. Just I started the day annoyed of Sarah Boone. She didn't do
yeah,
anything. Well, she did, but not really. But mainly her lawyers. And that then to see this mug devoid of emotion, devoid of anything. In fact, it appears as if she's actually studying these pictures, which I don't know how she
yeah.
can do.
It does. You're right, because she's paying so much attention. She's looking so closely, and this frown is when she mentions that that was his foot. But that was the
Yes.
most we got with this little frown.
Yes. I just it
Oh,
just went all over me. All over me.
yeah. Well, me too. It was just Danny has much more emotion and apparent love in his heart or through his testimony than what we're seeing from her while she looks at the photos of his little remains, like his little foot. That just
Yes,
I couldn't get
and
past that. I thought about it all night.
yes, and he has remorse. Remorse and regret and guilt for not checking
Yep.
that playpen. And she has nothing.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing. And I will
Yeah.
say that as hard as the forensic anthropologist's um, testimony was, her explanation of how they determine um, injuries caused ante-mortem and post-mortem
Yeah.
was interesting.
I agree.
I didn't realize there was tissue,
Yeah.
which I kind
I
of
didn't either.
figured because
Yeah.
of some of the testimony, but I wasn't sure. And so, yeah. And we're not even
Well,
done. That forensic anthropologist, her testimony was very brief and it was difficult. I think that the medical examiner, I think that's the testimony that's going to be longer and more difficult, in my
yeah,
opinion.
I totally agree with you. Well, and I want to go back to like some of the things that come out from when Detective Lemons had the stand, but just since we're talking about Danny, and we'll come back to this too with a couple of clips, but
Okay.
let's talk about for a second that hotel. Them, some of the things that came out from all of that, watching the footage where well, let me ask you. So
Okay.
how all the rumors were. You mentioned it last night in Deets,
I did.
which, people made a big to do about him not being there, about how quickly he left. I don't remember how you said it, but you were basically saying, and the whole time, look what he was doing. But I'm curious, like, how you feel. Do you think that this will squash the rumors that he was involved? And yeah, just how did you feel? Because for me, I really appreciated knowing that he went like the extra mile to
I think,
cooperate.
yeah, I think for most people, it will squash the rumors. There will always be those few. I think the word
Yeah.
that I used was scuttlebutt, which is rumors.
Yes.
It's a
Yes,
naval
you did.
term. Um, and there was a lot of rumors and innuendos flying all over the internet, and blame being
Hmm.
pointed at Danny and his suspicion because he left and he went to Atlanta and all the, he's, there was more, but I'm not going to get into it. If you were there, and it doesn't even really bear repeating. But what does bear repeating in my mind, in my opinion, is this is why I know people get frustrated with me. I know people are like, why won't Jenn ever just take a stance? Because I I would rather apologize for being wrong in thinking that somebody was not involved and details and evidence comes out later that they were involved than apologize for blaming somebody for something this horrendous that they didn't do. That's just how I feel. I always take a wait and see approach because I know
Yeah.
that there's always
Well,
more going on behind the scenes with law enforcement that we don't know about. I only had to learn that lesson one time.
same. That's me. And it's like, I think either some of these people, either one, a lot of them are new to true crime and they don't understand, like when certain cases blow up, like Sebastian's case brings a whole bunch of people in that haven't really followed through a trial like this. Or I think that's part of it. And then I guess some people are just more emotional, which I am too. I get it. But come on, like you said, I only had to learn the lesson one time. And that was with Heidi Broussard and Shane Carey. That taught me a huge lesson that, look, you don't know. It may appear one way, things may seem one way. But, there's a lot that we don't know. And even with Letitia and Al and watching that kind of go from rumors and social media to the trial process where we learned so much and saw actually what was going on, and people
Mhm.
never get it right. They just don't. Well,
They,
the people that are
they
accusing like
never
that.
they never stop and think. Okay, so for me, it was way early in the West Memphis 3 case when I very first started looking into it. I was very loud and obnoxious, and like looking back at it now, I feel like, oh my, I'm embarrassed by it. But I would come right straight out and say, John Mark Byers did it. He's the one who did it. He's guilty, guilty, guilty. And over the year, I realize looking back at that now, I did exactly to John Mark Byers what was done, in my opinion, to Damien, Jesse, and Jason, which was to, you know, just point the finger based on the way that I perceived some of the evidence, the way that and so that
Mhm.
was a long time ago, and I learned my lesson, and that's why I don't do that anymore because I learned, hey, just take a beat, lady. Just wait a second
Yeah.
and see what's going to come out. You got to be patient sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And things aren't always how they seem. And that's just the truth. And it's in the case's best interest for all the details not to be out in the beginning. And, for police to hold on to these little details like this. Like, for instance, people were freaking out that Danny had left, which first, let me say thank you so much, Carol. She says, missed you, Alex. Thanks for covering Quentin. Thank you for being here. And thank you. But, people were really upset that he left and went to Atlanta and then went back to North Carolina. Come to find out, he had his phone tapped for months and months and months trying to help with the investigation. He wasn't hiding anything. He didn't boot, scoot, and boogie like in a rush trying to get the hell out of there. No, he did
No,
want to
he
get out
didn't.
of there, but it wasn't like that, the way
Right.
people made it seem.
And okay, so when all of this was happening in the moment with Danny, to me, it seemed like I always sort of thought he caught Leilani in some type of lie. And
Yeah.
because I knew that if they were at the landfill, okay, doing the grid search, which is tedious in and of itself, okay, that there was a reason that they were there. And one of the things that irritated me about what was going on in front of that home was I suspected, and I talked about this, that what law enforcement was doing was watching Leilani and giving her enough rope, so to speak. And what that protest, if you can even, it wasn't a protest. I'm not even, that's way too kind. What happened in front of that house set in motion things like Leilani eventually going into a rehab, them going to Tybee Island. It messed with the investigation, and I guarantee they don't want to admit it, but it did. And maybe that wasn't their intention. It doesn't matter what their intention was, because the end result is it caused Leilani to do things differently. And therefore, it's quite possible that there might have been more statement evidence to come if they wouldn't have done what they did. We'll never know.
Well, I mean, okay, so I want to watch a few of the clips from what like their bug, but just a couple things I wanted to like run by you first that we learned yesterday from Danny that we didn't know. One, they were paying. I always assumed that BJ was the one paying the babysitter. She was off working. You know, I had assumptions obviously that were not accurate, but you know, they were paying her about $200 a week for the babysitter, and they both worked. They worked together. They were dumping all of their trash in that trailer park, which is interesting. You know, I'm curious. Like, look, Leilani, if you didn't spend $80 on that dope, you could have bought trash for the month. It's less than that for a month. You know, well, in some places, I don't know what it is there. It's not that expensive for trash service, though. Let's be clear. You could have bought less drugs and done it, but they weren't. Also, Danny has, you know, had the alcoholism going on, and a lot of people will wonder, you know, how did Paul or Danny not hear? What do you think about that now? Because I know my thoughts, but yeah, I'm curious what you think.
Well,
If they would have heard what happened, yeah.
To me, knowing, or at this point, the stains in the crib appear to be vomit and not anything, not other biological material. I'm still waiting to hear from forensics for the final say on that. But as it stands right now, keep thinking that it's more than likely it's vomit. To me, now I somewhat understand why maybe nothing was heard, because it didn't occur in that playpen. I think it might have likely occurred somewhere else in the house. That would have made it more difficult for the person upstairs to hear anything, as well as Danny, who was asleep. And asleep, he wasn't just asleep, okay? He was asleep and had alcohol on board. And
Yes.
so, and I'm not judging, it's just facts. And so that makes you sleep differently. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. Because
Okay,
I
so
couldn't
I'm very
understand how whatever occurred at the bare minimum didn't wake up the other children if it had occurred in that playpen in that room. Now, I have some
Right.
children who are hard sleepers, but not a ruckus like that going on in the same room would have woken them up.
Right. Well, I think that's a good point that maybe it didn't happen there. And I'm kind of like, to me, I think it's possible it wouldn't have woken up the kids, but I can see why it wouldn't, Danny or Paul wouldn't have heard it because, like you said, number one, Danny's drinking and not just like beer, he was also drinking the cinnamon whiskey. What's it called?
Fireball.
Yes, Fireball. And that, I'm sorry, but a lot of people, I'll pass out if I drink something like that. I probably won't hear nothing either. Like a lot of people may miss it if they're drinking that kind of stuff. But then
Right.
Leilani says Paul, like when she lived upstairs, someone could be banging on the door downstairs and they wouldn't hear it from up there. I think the like the kids is like the only thing that has me like, did it take place somewhere else? But where? I mean, I don't know how this could have happened. Where?
I think it
What could
took
Carson
place
have
in
been
the
doing at
house.
1 a.m.?
I think it took place in the house. I just don't think it took place in that room.
It's possible. I mean, yeah, because like even Chasing put in the chat last night, maybe she took him out to the car, which I don't know. I don't know. Make it to a different room or out to the car. I guess I had always envisioned it though that it happened right there.
I think a lot of people did.
Hey, Dr. B, look.
Dr. B. Hold on a second. I'm sharing your live. So sorry, I was typing at the same time. My bad. Okay.
That's okay. Dr. B says during one of Leilani's interviews, she was asked about what happened to Quentin, and she became histrionic as usual and subconsciously was grabbing her neck. Reminded me of what? Well, yeah, so that's another thing. Before we watch any clips of this, every time she gets cornered, every time, and I before we saw the video footage with her and Danny, I knew she was doing this. I just kept thinking, like, imagine being in a relationship with her. Anytime you ask her about something, question her, she starts screaming and gets really loud, and she starts like kind of rocking or fidgeting, or I don't know, but that's interesting that you noticed that.
Dr. B notices all the things.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting because maybe there's something to that. But God, she drives me crazy the way when she's cornered, she starts like screaming like a little, oh my God, I don't know. I don't know how you could ever be in a relationship with her. Because of that, and especially when she's accusing Danny of not wanting her, not being there for her, and we found out yesterday, hell, she's having sex with old Craig Red Craig,
Red Craig.
Yeah. As soon as I heard that, Jen, you were doing Sarah Boone, and as soon as I heard his name was Craig, I was like, oh my God. Made me think of you.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. Okay, so this is what I think about Leilani and her. First of all, she is displaying typical addict behavior: lie, deny, cry. Okay, but people also do what works. And when Leilani is backed into a corner, if she screams, yells, cries, hollers, and talks over top everybody. I mean, listen, she at several points in those videos I'm telling y'all, like half an octave below only dogs can hear. Okay. That pitch in her voice gets so high, but she does it because it works. It's like with Letitia. Letitia did the same thing. She would get loud and speak over. I mean, there were points in those pretext calls with she and Al where the poor speaker on whatever phone she was using was just like done. And it would just cut out because she was so loud. And that is, people do what works. And so obviously that is a pattern between between Leilani and Danny, and probably Leilani and everybody, because
Yep.
we saw her do it with the detectives as well when she was questioned. She just gets
Yeah.
loud. And I
But
hate to break it to you, Leilani, the volume of your voice has zero to do with whether the truth is coming out your mouth, ma'am.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that people, she might think it works because, like we've talked about so many times with Letitia, people get exhausted. They don't want to deal with that shit. So they might just shut up and give you your way when you start acting like that, or just, whatever. But that doesn't mean that you don't look obvious that you're lying. And especially investigators, hello, when you can't cooperate and every time they question you, you start freaking out like that, there's something wrong. We see Danny cooperating to the fullest. Here, have my phone, have this, and she can't even be questioned a certain way.
Yeah, my favorite part is when she really gets into it and she starts, looking like a whole tour guide by pointing at things. I'll go take a pee test right now. And she points off in a
Yeah.
direction. Like, what are you talking? Like, how does that? It's all like, it's
Oh, that
extra
part.
in the worst
That part
way.
makes me crazy. Yes. She's like, right, I'll go take one right now. Like
I'll go take a
screaming like
piss
that. So
test.
dramatic.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
my God.
okay.
Now,
Let's go.
I'm
See,
glad.
now me, I'm the type of person that would have been like, okay, cool. Let's go right now.
Well, I mean,
I'm
and
the
come to
type
find
that will
out,
call that bluff, but I'm also the type that when the
Lindsay.
conversation devolves into where it did with Leilani, where it can't, it's not going to be productive. I'll just stop. I'll walk away. I'll
Yeah.
just be done.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people do that, and that probably
Hmm.
has led her to continue to do it though, because yeah, it's you can't a lot. I don't know. I'm not going to deal with anybody like that. I at all. I'm at the point in my life where I do not have the time for dealing with people that act like that. Now, in a situation like this, the police have to deal with or whatever. It's different, but I'm just saying like regular
Right.
relationships. Now, I'm glad Melissa brought this up because I wanted to bring this up before we play the clips of Danny, and I had screenshot this, but I almost forgot. So this came out yesterday when Lemons was still on the stand. Detective Lemons. This search took place on October the 1st. I believe. Let me double check that though.
It did. I think you're
Yes.
right. It was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think about this? I can,
Oh, you're
doing
breaking up,
Googling this,
babe. Hold
number
on.
one.
You broke up. I didn't hear what you
Uh-oh.
said.
Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm
Uh,
sorry.
no, I'm glad you told me. I just get so frustrated, but I'm so glad today is hopefully the last day of shitty internet. But okay, so this really frustrates me though. This pisses me off. And I'm curious why the hell you would type this into Google. The stuff that she does, again, I have to remember she's on drugs and stuff. It's not gonna make sense, but is it common for a mother to have resentment or even anger towards her child because of the father or another reason? And shame on you because you chose the father. And a lot of us have children or relationship, many people out there have shitty baby daddies, shitty baby moms, and they do not have, like, if you've started noticing yourself doing this, you should have talked to somebody, and you shouldn't have been the one watching him. Shouldn't have been anyways, because of the situation that we were in, or that we were in, like I'm there too, that they were in, with Billy Joe having to have custody and stuff like that. But I have a real problem with this. I'm glad she Googled it, but it just, I guess, because I don't know, like, not everything in my life has been perfect either, but I just
Nothing in
could never
anybody's
imagine.
life is ever perfect. But you know what annoys
Well,
me
I mean,
sometimes
baby
about.
daddy was
Oh, yeah. You
like,
know what
I'm saying,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, 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 go ahead.
No, I just mean I've have experience with shitty like relationships too. One of I have two kids, two different dads. They're very different. One of them, it's been a lot of grief and it's been a long
Mm-hmm.
road. I chose him. Thank God for my baby though. Like that's I don't know. It never my thoughts of with their dads have like leaked out into my the way I felt about them. You
Right.
know what I mean? I just can't
Mm-hmm.
understand that, but go ahead.
What always bothers me about these texts, about these searches, is I really wish that the prosecution would show the results. What she clicked on as a result, because I think that okay, we would have a depending on what it is that she clicked on, right? I think it would give us a better idea. We all sort of assume, right, that it's more likely than not that this is about Quentin because so many people have testified that she treated Quentin differently than she treated her other children because of her resentment towards Quentin's biological father. So but it would be nice if they showed the the search results that came up asking this question and if she clicked on any of those and what those said, because the defense is going to be able to argue she had 3 children by 3 different dads. She could have been Googling that about any of those kids. Things were
Right.
not good
But
with Danny. Um, so I wish they would, because I think it would give us a better idea. And I'm always interested in what the Google results are because I want to know what she was reading. And you know what I mean? Like, that will also, whatever it is she was reading, also will give us insight into what was going on in her mind in that moment. Because
well,
to be,
okay, so I think go ahead.
go ahead.
Because to be
No,
what?
no, no. To
Well,
be
I
fair,
think we are gonna learn more about that
okay,
with other
okay. Because
witnesses.
to be fair, in that moment on that day, we do know that she was struggling with Danny as well. Things were not good between the 2 of them. So is it possible?
Yeah.
It's so and a defense attorney, I don't know what until I see more, I can't obviously I can't know, but I can tell you what a defense attorney is going to do. They're going to get up there and they're going to question the shit out of this because she was also going through it with Danny too. So was this about could she been Googling this about her daughter? And
Yeah.
that's all
Well,
that's it.
I think a good defense attorney will bring that up. But so remember, I think they're trying to tie in together this video where she doesn't really say anything about Quentin, but she does the other two. But another thing is one of the hearings, and I'll have to go back, was because they wanted to keep testimony out
Mhm.
from one of her friends where Leilani had divulged to the friend that she felt differently about Quentin because of who his dad was.
Oh, I
So, and it was,
definitely
I'm
think
pretty
it's that. Yeah, but the jury's not going to, if that witness doesn't come in, I'm talking about strictly from a jury standpoint. Remember, we know
right. I'm
things,
pretty sure.
and if, yeah, so I'm curious if that's going to come in or not, because I think it's
I
important.
think they, yeah, I do too. And I think they ruled that it will come in, but I'll
Okay.
have to go
Okay.
back and double check. But at that point, then hopefully it'll be able to they'll be able to tie it together with like that. But no, you bring up a good point, and you're 100% right because she was having problems with Danny too, obviously. And, I don't know. Apparently, she was very fond of Zane and talked about how he got her through a hard time
Hmm.
in her life. So maybe they'll I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I do remember there was a hearing where her attorneys were asking for this friend's testimony to be kept out, and I'm pretty sure the judge ruled it was admissible. So, hopefully, we'll hear from that friend on the stand.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm. Okay. Hey, Grandma Sherry. But no, don't ever apologize for having like a open mind and for being thorough with how these things could be looked at. I think it's important, especially I'm very like emotionally driven, more than logically. Like I try to be logical, but I do know that sometimes I can be emotionally driven. So I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I
So,
used
do
to
you want to?
emotionally driven. I've gotten older. And I'm going to tell you right here and right now, if I would have met Leilani in my 20s, I would have gone toe to toe to her with her and not back down no matter how loud she got. But I'm older now and I just don't, I don't do that anymore. I will never let a person get me to um, a place where I lose control. So, but
Yeah.
that comes
Well,
from age. That's not, you know,
yeah. Well, is there any world where though that this like friend that there it could have been ruled admissible and they won't present it just for another reason? I wonder. I'm hoping that we get to see that, but
well, I think if anything, it's potentially, even though it is a direct conversation, um, I think that it could be kept out if the judge felt that it was more prejudicial than probative. Um,
yeah,
it might fall because it is testimony about the truth of the matter, could be construed as the truth of the matter. It could fall under hearsay. There are ways that it can be kept out, but there are also exceptions to the hearsay uh, rule. So I'm not an attorney, so I can't. I understand the difference in the rules between about hearsay, but I'm not an attorney, so I'm not able to discern like a conversation like this, whether or not it would be considered hearsay or not. If it would, or if it would be an exception to the hearsay rule, because I don't, that's an attorney's job. See why I tell y'all, don't be calling me as your, as your first call if you get into a jam. Because all I'm going to be able to tell you is you need to be quiet and call a lawyer. That's going to be my advice. So don't waste your one call. Just keep that in your head as a given.
okay, I found it. I found what I'm talking
Okay.
about. So this was a hearing she had August 23rd, or the article came out August 23rd. It says Leilani accused of killing
Hang on,
Quentin
babe.
and discarding.
Will you take the comment off of the screen so that the class can see, please?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, perfect. All right, so prosecutors prosecutors laid out 7 exhibits at this hearing of evidence they wanted to use in her trial. They said it includes text messages, statements, and phone data that shows what was going on in her life around the time of his death. Prosecutors said the evidence details relationship issues between Simon and her boyfriend, plus accusations of physical violence. They say it shows what was going on in the mother's life around the time of Quentin's death. We have alleged that she killed her son in the middle of the night, okay? That is a heck of a thing to say about a mother, said the prosecutor. Prosecutor Timothy Dean introduced statements from Simon's longtime friend, quote, who will testify about the defendant's feelings towards Quentin's father and by extension, Quentin, unquote. So I guess she will testify,
I
at
mean,
least in August.
because I mean, think about it. They let in during Adam Montgomery's um, trial, they did let in a witness to testify to statements that Adam Montgomery made about uh, Harmony's biological mom, Crystal. So,
Yeah, that's right.
so I think it just depends, I think, on the circumstances, on um, what specifically they're going to be testifying but I would like to just take a moment and point out that this is how a pretrial hearing on evidence is supposed to go. Mr. Henderson, I'm looking at you. Not, well, I don't know, and I'm not going to know until trial. Okay, no, that's not how it works. That's okay. That's why I was so irritated yesterday. I'd had enough. All right, I need to let it go. I'm sorry. I'm going to let it go because it just
No, I don't know how. I'm sure it's very stressful covering both Leilani and Sarah Boone at the same damn time. That would be pretty nerve wracking.
it's
So
a lot
I
because
feel
they're
for
two
you.
cases. that are on two opposite ends of, you know, the spectrum. And I want to make it clear that my devotion to covering Sarah Boone isn't about Sarah herself. It's about George Torres Jr.'s family. They've been waiting almost 5 years now. And every time for justice for George, for this trial to happen. And every single time they get close and they think they can start to, you know, the trial for many families is the start really of the healing process. And every time they get close, another lawyer withdraws because of Sarah's bullshit. And so that is why I'm devoted. It's they're completely different cases, but to me, justice is important for these families. Quentin deserves to have his story told and what happened to him at the hands of his mother. George's family deserves justice for George. All right, that's all I'm going to say. I feel like there's been some sideways comments, not in your chat, but other places. And I'm like, I don't, you know, maybe I took it sideways because I was crabby. Who knows? Maybe it wasn't sideways. It felt like that to me at the time. And so I felt like I needed to clarify.
Well, I didn't see the comments, but like, I think, you know, they're both victims. And sometimes for me and for a lot of us, like as moms, the kids' cases tug at our hearts in a different way. Doesn't mean that they all don't matter. And exactly like you said, he has a family too, you know?
Exactly.
And so I'm glad you're doing it. I'm really glad. I know it's a lot because we've done it before with other trials at the same time. I'm not doing it this time. It's so hard for me to keep up because I think they're both equally important in different ways. And it is a lot for you to put yourself through to try to stay on top of the details of both. So I'm glad you're doing it. Violet, thank you for becoming a member. And Neat and B Crumbs, you guys, thank you for gifting. That's so sweet. Thank you. Okay, so I want to watch. We have a little bit. This stream is going to lead us right into Jenn's. We start at 9:30 today, right, Jenn?
Yes, ma'am.
What time do you want to go over to your lab, though? Like a few minutes before, probably, I think. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, maybe a few. I mean, I can start at 9:30. It's best to be a little behind court testimony because then when the break comes, it's not as long of a break. You can skip through it.
Okay.
That's what I do anyway.
I like that. That's what I do watching the replay, or watching in your guys' chats. I'll fall behind a little bit. And then by the time I catch up, I don't have to sit through a break. So it works out.
See, I don't like for the audience to have to sit through a break. And even though I'm running the stream, I'm also watching. So I'm part of the audience, I feel, and I have literally zero patience for waiting on things, especially when it's abrupt and in the middle of important testimony. Yes, Remy, the court replay is 30 minutes delayed. So for me, you know, it's I do it for you guys, but I also selfishly do it for myself. Sometimes I'm selfish.
Well, my point is this stream's going to turn into her stream. As soon as it ends, the chat's going to redirect us over to that live. But I want to try to watch a little bit of, okay, so I'm a little confused first. I want to see some of what Danny said when he was on the stand with you. But when he takes the stand back this morning, is it going straight into cross?
No. They weren't done talking to him.
I didn't think so.
I don't think.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so either. I didn't hear they were still kind of in the middle of stuff in the hotel. I never really heard I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
I was.
No, you're right. But. And also, that exactly what Melissa said. We still have we still have calls to go through, which means I'm going to tell y'all right now, I have a very, very strong feeling that the audio is going to be very similar to the audio that we heard, the quality of audio, the way that it sounds. it's going to be very similar to Letitia Stauch's trial, the pretext calls between she and Al, because Leilani is a screamer. So I am definitely going to use my golf, what, not announcer, maybe, yeah, golf announcer voice, because it's going to be bad.
Yeah, it is, I'm sure. But hey, I need to remind you to try to download an extension for the audio if you think about it. See if you can
I
download it to your browser. It's really easy. It only takes like a minute to download.
Oh, if it takes
Maybe you
a
can make it
minute for
louder
you,
on the
it'll
spot.
take 10 seconds for me, babe. Just kidding. I just like to I tell Allie all the time, just ask, I'll share. And she's like, no, I want to share. And I'm okay. I just always offer. I just give her a hard time because it makes her, it's just one of those things. I tease her about that.
No. Well, hey, I'll be better tomorrow. Hopefully, the
I
Starlink will
can't
be here
wait.
today.
I can't wait.
I
I need
know.
to I think they've gotten the audio issue figured out in the with Law and Crime finally. I have a lot on my computer right now. Like, I'm holding on to all of those calls from,
Yeah.
Keisha Land, and a lot of bits and pieces from the video that I'm working on. I am really going to have to try to have it premiered by this weekend. So, yeah, which
Okay.
means I
Well, awesome.
can't
Yeah, and then we
stream
have
in the afternoon.
more calls.
If I'm going to cover 2 trials, I don't think there is a way for, I don't know that I can be doing all day testimony. I think I might have to stop at lunch just for my own
Yeah.
sanity, because it gets to be a lot.
Roro, it starts in about a half an hour. This stream, Jen's streaming it, but this will turn into that. So let me play this because
Yeah, let's
I
get
hope
to
I've
it.
got it right at the part. Okay. So at the beginning, he's very emotional and nervous. And,
Mhm.
I know that some people are feeling one way or another. I've seen opinions really all over, but I can't help it. But I have like a soft spot for him only because I know what it's like to be in active addiction. It's hard. And then I think that he's burnt out a little bit. And I don't know. He tugs at my heart. I don't think he's being dishonest at all. I think he's just traumatized. But I'm curious if you have any thoughts about him being dishonest at all. I've seen some people thinking that, or I want to watch some of it with you for a minute.
Okay.
What do you think, though, just from what you saw yesterday? Do you take him to be just, traumatized? Or what do you think?
I think that getting up there to testify, and again, the way that our justice system is set up, you have the right to face your accuser, and in the courtroom, it's literal. She is sitting right there. That's intimidating in and of itself. The context of the testimony is difficult. Also, he's very well aware that there are cameras, which makes it extra difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the language that he uses, like, I don't want to lie, I think that that is the language of youth. He's young and doesn't
Yes.
realize, I don't think, how
That's what I.
saying stuff like that comes across. I'm more moved by the, you can tell when somebody is fake crying. All the Real Housewives, I'm looking at you, and you too, Leilani and Tisha. See, when you cry, all of that, your eyeballs and everything, they're all, and your nose and your mouth, they're all connected. They all have this, So when liquid starts to come out of your eyes, liquid also then comes out of your nose. And that's just biological. There's nothing that you can do about that. So when you see somebody who was wiping their eyes, and yet there's no liquid coming out of their eyes, and they're not sniffling, it's not genuine. And I felt like his emotion is genuine. And I will say this, I think at this moment that Danny has the jury. And if I were that defense attorney, I would play Danny very, very, very carefully, because if you go too hard at that kid, you are going to lose that jury.
Yeah.
Don't be.
I
In
agree with you.
fact, Mr. Sassy Pants, I'm going to need you to sit your ass down and let Mr. Bowtie come up and take this and do the cross-examining. That's what my advice would be. The Mr. Bowtie man is much softer in his approach. Mr. Sassy Pants, he questions people like I do when I'm irritated and I've had enough, and I can be very
Yeah.
snarky. So let me ask you this. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm actually trying, like he's just he's snarky about it, and it comes off too harsh. And I think that if he does that with Danny, he's going to lose the jury. Whatever testimony he's trying to elicit from him on behalf of his client will be lost if his approach is bad.
I agree with you, and I think so. Like you said, Leilani's looking right at him. I think he's traumatized. He has a lot of guilt, but also, it's for someone that's in the drug world at all. It is a big deal to admit to wearing a wire on somebody, to letting the FBI bug the room. This isn't over drugs, though. It's over a child's life, and I think that's why he did it. But I still feel like he seems a little nervous when talking about that, the way he refers to it,
Yeah.
Like
he's
but to bug the room.
I spelt his name wrong in the title of my video. Let me fix it. Sorry. That's not anything for y'all. It's just my own. I just noticed it and I need to fix it. My bad. Keep going, Allie.
So let's just, I'm just going to press play while you fix it.
Just play.
Queen baby, this is Leilani's baby daddy of the littlest baby, and his name's Danny. He lived with her at the time. He was helping take care of all the kids at the time, and yeah, he's state's witness, and he's a big one. Okay. So let me...
Who was living there at the
time? Her brother Joe was living there, and Thomas and Billy were there, living there, but they weren't there. They were working a lot, so they were on the road.
Okay. At some point, did Joe move out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at some point, did Paul move in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Defendant's brother, Paul Simon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where were y'all living at the time that the defendant gave birth to your child, Sky?
Buckhalter.
Okay, so y'all were living in Savannah at that time?
Yes, sir.
What do you remember about the birth of Sky?
It was fast and enlightening for me, I guess.
Before Sky was born, and you were living in Savannah at the Buckhalter house, were Zane and Quentin living there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Was that the first time that you met Zane and Quentin when you moved down here with the defendant, or had you already met him during the time?
I had met Quentin before.
So let's go to the time period where you're living in Savannah in the Buckhalter house with the defendant and the three children, Zane, Quentin, and newborn Sky. What was your relationship like with her two older children, Zane and Quentin?
Good. Well, I loved them like they were my own.
What do you remember about Zane?
Lots of energy, and like to play a lot. And
Allie, is his last name Young Ken?
But had a lot to say.
Is that how you spell it? Because I feel like, sorry, that is just inappropriate. My bad. I'll figure it out.
I do think that's correct, but hold on, let me double check.
That's how I spelt it before, and then I saw the tweet, and then I was like, maybe I don't have it correct. Now I'm gonna have to go fix it again. I had it right the first time, I think. Dietz is very detail oriented, and I feel like she would have it right.
I think that's it right
There.
there. Yes. Yeah.
Hold on, let me look how you have it. Hold on. How Dietz has it? Young kin.
It's
That's what I thought. That's
yeah.
how I had it first.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
All
you
right.
guys. Inappropriate outburst by Jen Lou.
No, that's okay.
Take
Hey,
deduct some
Deets.
points from the bathing suit portion of the pageant.
Okay, now this part though, this I really want to see because it's
Yes.
where he talks about Quentin, and this is like the first part where he really tugged at my heart. Okay, so he's describing Zane being high energy, and this is like after the prosecutor asked him, "Did you think fondly? Do you remember them fondly?"
Mm-hmm.
That part. Okay.
Okay.
Thing, honestly, and he was a lot more. He was more chill, I guess, than Zane. Zane was more high energy, but Quentin always had a lot he wanted to say.
Look at the smile on his face.
Play with his
For real though, the prosecutor points this out, and that's the part I want to watch. And in a second, I just wanted to point out, but the smile on his face when he talks about them, I mean, it is undeniable.
He does
can
light
see
up
the
when
way-
he speaks about those children. He does.
Yes.
He does. Danny, this is some life advice from somebody who's older and wiser. Never, 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 never have children with a girl who doesn't have custody who has children, who has other children that she doesn't have custody of. Bad idea, bro. Please don't make this mistake again.
Yep, I agree. Okay.
I see, as I've asked you these questions about the children, I noticed that you seem to be smiling a bit. Do you remember them fondly?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you about work in Savannah. When you first got down.
Oh my God. I mean, he's trying to keep the emotions in. It feels just very honest and genuine to me. Yeah, it just makes me sad though. It's so sad. Okay. Him remembering the children brought him joy. He brought tears to my eyes. I know. Ugh. It just
Well, I think it is his testimony, seeing him, hearing him, is diametrically opposed to the rumors and the things that were said about him.
Yep.
Before all, during the early days of everything going on. I'm going to leave it there. I don't think we need to go into specifics. That's not necessary for this, but it's just, when you hear from people who know somebody, their take on an individual, and then you meet that individual and they seem to be almost the absolute antithesis of the way that this other person has described. Does that mean that they're lying? It's some of it could be that that's their experience with this person, but I just, there's something that's disconnected for me. I don't understand how he could be this, for lack of a better word, the way he was described was a piece of shit, lazy man. Didn't do anything, good for nothing. And yet that's not what we're hearing. And so it just, I don't know.
No, he's the one who was trying to he's the one who cared about getting him up into the babysitter in the morning while Leilani slept her selfish ass in every last second until they left for work. You're so right though. And like Tess says here, she says, in my opinion, he was painted unfairly as the villain. He was. Okay, so now I want to play another clip because we got to go in a second. But oh my God, seeing them in the hotel room, I just want to play some of this because this was frustrating. Now, again, I am appreciative that he agreed to allow them to film. I think that he had to prove he wasn't involved. You know what I mean? And I think that was probably part of it. And if you listen in one of the clips, I don't know if we're going to hear it, but she's like, something about finding Quentin. And he says, no, we're going to find Quentin. They're going to find Quentin. Like I think he was putting the pieces together at this point. To me, him saying that was almost a dig at her. Like, if you did something, they're going to find out. But I think he also had an interest in proving that he wasn't a part of that if there was something going on, which I can't believe Dietz had pointed it out in that body cam from the day
tilt.
before that his kid. Yes. And that's true. And it had, he hears that Oragel story for the first time when police hear it. I can't imagine how he felt at that time. He must have been like, what the hell? Also, let me note, when he gets home, Leilani's just sitting on the porch. She's not, the prosecutor points out there's woods all around. She's not out there screaming for him. Ugh.
Well, the thing that got me is I thought that I noticed the tilt initially when that body cam footage was played the day prior, but I wasn't sure if it was a tilt or if it was the officer moving. And so I wasn't, but I'm so glad that Dietz caught it, because I thought, that's why I didn't say anything, because I thought, I don't want to say anything because I might just have seen something, thought I saw something that I didn't see. And so I'll keep it. When Dietz said that she saw it, and then the prosecutor then said the same thing and then went back to replay it and replay it and replay it. Then I felt a little bit better, and like I don't have hallucinations and don't need to call somebody. So it made me feel it made me feel better.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't notice it. So that's funny that you did too. Because you not notice it. I guess I was paying so much attention to her and the officer that I wasn't really looking as much at him. But yeah, I think that's super interesting that it was.
Yes. And the other thing that I noticed is this, where he was standing. See, this whole scenario, this is where red flags came up for me, not about Danny, but where I thought something is going on between the two of them for sure, because they're not standing together as a couple. Okay. I remember when I told you guys a long time ago how my oldest daughter, we couldn't find her, and she wasn't checking in and she wasn't answering her phone. And then we find out that the girl that she's with was communicating with older men online. And I called the police because I couldn't find her. And when the cops came out, my husband and I were standing next to each other, telling the cop what was going on. Now, she was found 2 minutes later, like right after we called the cops, we found her. But in that moment, and I noticed that when they first played the body cam footage, and I also noticed on the 911 call that Leilani is saying the door was open, and you can hear her in the background, and you can hear Danny in the foreground saying, but he couldn't open the door. Yeah. He was, I think, from the very beginning, putting things together. And the more she spoke, the more he was like, this bitch lying. Oh, it scared the shit out of me, Dead-Eye Danny, for sure. I was scared. My heart was in my butt, for reals. I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared.
I remember you. But I don't think, also another thing, I was confused. Remember when I was like, the brother Joe, like, that's Michael. And that, Dietz, I think you put that together, but I don't know. Because at the first day when we hear Joe, her brother, goes to the police station and, he has ADT on his phone and the door wasn't opened. I remember thinking like, I don't remember that name. Like it didn't click for me, but that's Michael, right? Am I saying that right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's confusing, some of it, but okay. I wanted to play a clip of this before we go over to your channel, and we're getting close. You want to listen to this for a second? This is at the hotel. This was not the first one. Well, no, wait, this is at 8:35. So this is the first clips that we started to see were from like 8 something, like before this. It was 20 something, but these are not the very first ones that they played. but they're some of them. So, okay. Let's.
This time. Huh? This time. Yeah, I am last night that you continuously asked. This time. This time. They did exactly what they wanted to do. Tore us apart. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You didn't. You did. They tore us apart because the way you treat me proves it.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes. A month later,
Hold on, give it a
because I
minute.
guess they have to renew them, I guess.
Did you have any problem with agreeing to this?
No, not at all.
Why is that?
I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, they already knew about what I was doing drug-wise, so I had no issues with anything they wanted to
I'm gonna
find
go back to
against
this one.
against.
Legacy on Twitter has
Started
put.
with 2017.
Here we go. We'll start here.
That's like all family makes me more than my man does at this point. I just don't know everything. You do. Nobody knows everything. The only thing we don't know is what happened to Quinn. So what did happen in your thoughts? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I have no idea what to fathom. I cannot make up something in my head about what could possibly happen. I have no idea what happened to that baby. I'm asking you, as a man to my woman, what do you think may have happened? Yeah. I'm just, and we ain't talked in a minute about what could have happened. But we did spoke about it last night, and I have no idea what could have happened. I don't care about what could have happened. I want to know what happened. So where's he at? I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to frustrate you. No, you just sat there and said, so where's he at? I'm getting picked up. I'm doing other thing I brought from me. No. If there's an older person I'm seeing you're wanting the love and support from that I thought would be on my side 100% is on the fucking FBI side.
Call Red Ho.
Call Red Ho. Sorry. But that right there, it's like, why are you so, the way that I'm sorry, she looks so guilty. And I would have known why are you saying the FBI side? Isn't the FBI trying to find your son? Aren't you trying to find your son? Like, lady, she just makes me furious. I feel like I would have noticed if I was him, like her language, and thought, okay, you definitely have something to do with this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it started with the 911 call. I think the red flags for Danny. I think it started with the 911 call. I think that when the cops showed up and he heard the Oragel story, I think that because let me say this, when they separated those two, okay, and had them down at the police station questioning them, and then they tracked down Misty, the Oragel lady, who was not an Oragel lady, who was also, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This is what they do. They will play because they don't know what happened, right? And Danny admits that there was a period of time when Leilani was not in the house, that he was alone with the children. So they're going to play both ends against the middle. And I guarantee you, Danny had a much different reaction to being told that Misty says there was no Oragel, there was no visit. She has no idea what this girl's talking about. I guarantee you he had a much different reaction than Leilani did. And I think that that's when the cops were like, okay. And, so yeah, that's what I think.
I agree with you. Oh my gosh, it's just, it's a lot. There was something else I was going to point out that, she said in her language but I can't remember now. And we're getting so close to it starting. I don't want us to miss any. So I think that
Yeah.
Melissa's going to do her update tonight. And since we were on this morning, maybe I'll just come on in the morning again. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we're going over to Jenn's. You're going to do the first half of the day, right? Or how
Yes.
long are you streaming?
I will stream
Okay.
until the lunch break. I just, it's too much for me, you guys. It's too much. I can't do it all. I just can't. My brain is starting to hurt. Look
I
at
like his little bow
Kevin.
tie. Yes,
He's so
he's
cute. Every
Well, then
time I
these are
see him, I want to call him like, I want to say it like SpongeBob. Hi, Kevin.
when SpongeBob. That's so cute when he gets like the hard eyes.
Yeah.
But no. Okay, so Dietz, are you gonna do the second half, or I'm just curious before we go so I can mention that. And then this is gonna redirect us to Jenn's stream. We have to hear the phone calls. Oh, well, we're gonna hear, remember, in the opening, they play that clip of Leilani on the phone with Danny, and she's like, I'm never gonna do coke again. You know, it makes me too violent. Okay, awesome, Dietz. That will be great. So we're gonna probably go into hearing those calls, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think there's a few videos that we might need a few more things maybe from the hotel that they might need to play before we hear those calls. But yes, I do think we should be hearing I think the calls are going to be one of the first things, the next on the agenda. I think we should be hearing those relatively soon. Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I really look forward to those calls. Nay, have a good day at work. Now, do you need to start it before we end this, or will it just
hold on a
jump
minute?
us
No,
over?
I do need to start it, but for some reason I'm looking at the law and crime one for today, and it's not scheduled to begin until 11. And Court TV is going currently, but I don't understand what the discrepancy is. So we're going to start with Court TV, you guys, and I'll just have to keep an eye on what's going on with law and crime. I don't know why it's scheduled that way. Oh, well, hold the phone. There's a motions hearing for Sarah Boone.
Oh.
What? I don't know. I guess whatever they didn't finish the other night. So this is what I'm going to do. Whatever's going on with that motions hearing, I'll cover it tonight. And I will just get right into Leilani, okay? Also, I just want everybody to know Sarah's outfit of the day is still that green suit. It's her power suit, but today she has like a yellow top underneath. It's not really a good color, Sarah, but I'm not going to, it is what it is. That's not nice, Jen. Maybe not.
Look at this little picture of cute. Well, I'm just going to sit here and show a couple pictures while little baby Quentin.
Okay.
Well, you start yours so that when I end that, it directs the right way over there. I love that little picture of him. What a little beautiful baby, man. It's so sad. He just deserved so much better.
He did, and it's awful. All right, babe. I'll see you over there.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, you guys. I took these screenshots off the account I dropped a minute ago. They're doing like Twitter updates and clips along the day. So if you're on Twitter, you should go follow them because you won't miss anything. But they did actually, no, it was a different account that grabbed these screenshots of Leilani. Look at her. Oh, she's very animated and it's extremely frustrating. But their point was, how does someone go from this upset to this like calm in a matter of seconds? So he was so precious, beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna wait just another second so that stream starts. Thank you guys for being here. I'll probably maybe recap in the morning again. I'm not sure because I know Melissa's doing the recap tonight. Joneson has been doing excellent recaps on her community tab. They're very detailed. Dietz will be streaming this afternoon. And yeah, so I'm going to drop those links as we end. I'm just going to go ahead and play the outro, and it should like zap you into Jenn's chat. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. You know, we have a lot to continue to go through, and it means a lot to me that you want to go through it here. And, you know, I need to talk through this stuff as we learn it. It helps me remember it. It helps me process it and understand. It's just something that I like to do. So thank you guys for being here and doing that with me. All right, y'all. Have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye.